Hi guys, Lucy Ambrose from lucyambrose.com. I'm so pleased that you've decided to join me on this webinar or workshop or whatever you want to call it on Google Analytics. So over the next probably 45 minutes or so, I'm going to share with you what to look for on Google Analytics, what all the numbers mean, and more importantly, how to use them to then grow your business. So we're just going to get started. We're going to jump straight in. So what I'm going to do is just close this little video of me, and you should be able to see my screen now. So the first thing that I wanted to cover was how do you actually know if you've got Google Analytics installed on your computer or not? So the first thing I want you to do is just go to gachecker.com, and then you can type in your domain here. So if I just type in my website, for example, now it takes a minute to load, but I will show you what to look for here. So again, that's gachecker.com. And what this is doing is checking whether you've got Google Analytics installed on your website. So it's just loading, as you can see here. But basically what it's doing down here is if you've got a full column of ticks, it can be any one of these, but if there's a full column of ticks, it means that you do have Google Analytics installed. So basically what this is saying is, I do have Google Analytics installed on this website, which obviously I know. But yeah, so if any of these are ticked all the way down, it means you do have Google Analytics installed. If you don't have Google Analytics installed, I have got a video, which I'll pop the link to below, which is how to install Google Analytics on your website. But it's free. It's pretty simple to do, and throughout this training, you'll see how valuable it really is to have Google Analytics. So now, if you do have Google Analytics, we can go ahead. So we go google.com/analytics is the website we're going to. So google.com/analytics, and it will bring you to this page here. Then you can click sign in to analytics, and it'll bring it up in another tab. And it's going to show you your dashboard once it loads in a minute. So I'm just going to choose the website that I'm going to be sharing analytics on, which is this one here. So I'm just waiting for it to load. Okay, so when you first log in, this is what you're going to see. So this is your dashboard. So basically this pulls up the last 7 days. It shows you how many people have looked at your website. So that's users over the last 7 days, and how many times they've looked at your website. So 100 people have come onto this website 110 times over the last 7 days. So some of the people have come on more than once, is what that means. Your bounce rate is one of the most important things that you can look at, and I'm going to cover that soon. I'm not going to cover what that means just yet. Session duration, so that's how long people are spending on your website. So on average, people are coming to this website and spending a minute at a time. So that might seem quite low to you, but if you think about what you can do in a minute, it's a lot. So when you're looking at that duration, have a look at your website and see what would be the time that people, that makes sense for people to have a look at your website. So if you haven't got much on your website, or if it's really clear, your messaging's really clear, you wouldn't expect people to spend more than a couple of minutes on there if you're getting your messaging and your targeting right. So that's a fine number there. It just means, we're really targeting, which is good. But what I want to show you first of all is if we click on let's just look at real time just briefly. So if I go real time and overview, what this is showing us is how many people are on the website right now. So at the moment, there's no people on this particular website at the moment. But if I open up another tab and open that website, did that wrong. Here, and then wait for it to load. If I jump here, within a couple of seconds, there we go. So you can see that I am on there now. So it's really up to date. This part, the real time, is actually in real time. So you can see here what pages people are on. So that dash, that's the home page. You can see where they're coming, like where in the world they're coming from. So this is the the real time dashboard. So if I close this now, it won't take long, and it will show that that's gone back to 0. Any minute now. If I just refresh that, my internet's going a bit slow at the moment. And there we go, it's back. Well, it's showing as someone else is on there actually. So that's not me anymore. So if I open it again now, it'll probably go up to 2. No. Okay, well, this isn't working so well for me. But basically, it normally is very accurate. So if I close that now, let's see. This is not proving my point so well, but generally this is really up to date. So you'd see how many people are on the site, and it's normally pretty accurate. Anyway, I'm going to move on. So one of the places to look at when you're in your Google Analytics is under the Audience tab. So if you click on Audience and then click on Overview, what that shows you is so here is your basics over the last 7 days. But if you click on this tab here, you can choose what time period. So generally when I'm looking at analytics for a website, I want to look at the last 3 months. And that gives you a good picture of trends. It's got enough data in 3 months to be able to make some decisions or some projections. So I'm just going to select the last 3 months up until today. Here, and then straight away you can see kind of the trends that are happening here. So this is how many people are looking at the website each day over the last 3 months. So you can see we had this bit of a spike here, and that's actually when we ran some advertising for this business. So that's nice to see that was working. But on here, so you can see again, so just over 2,000 people have looked at this website in the last 3 months. They've come onto the website 2,383 times. So some people have looked at it more than once. They've had more than one session on this website. We've reached most of the people that we have found this website are new users. So what that means is they haven't been to this website before. And that is good because it means that our ads that we ran in this time period worked because we were targeting new people that hadn't heard of the business. They were awareness ads. So this is a really good proportion of people that are new users. Depending on what your numbers say here, if you don't have many new users, it means that your advertising or the digital marketing work that you're doing isn't reaching new people. It's only reaching the people that you have already know about you. So you can, it's good to have this new users quite high, a good percentage, to show you that you're reaching new people, right? Because the more people you can reach with your marketing, the more people you can sell to, or more conversions. So it's important to have a look at that. Over here, it displays it in a quite easy to read way as well. So you can see 92% of the people were new users. So you want to make sure that's quite a high proportion there. Also on this dashboard, we can see each person. So what I said to you before is just over 2,000 users come onto the website 2,300 times. So on average, people are coming 1.15, which obviously isn't possible to come to a website 0.15 of a time, but it's just the proportion of those two. So each person on average is looking at, again, 1.3 pages. So between 1 and 2 pages, each person is looking at. So that's the number of pages that many people looked at over the last 3 months. So we ran some ads in this period here where we sent them to a direct landing page. So we would expect that number to be about 1 because people were coming to this landing page and that had all the information that they needed on it. So we didn't expect them to browse other pages of the website. So this number, I can't say to you what is a good number and what is a bad number, because it will depend on your goals of your website and your layout of your website and your messaging of your website. But what's important here is to ask yourself, does that make sense? Do I want people to be looking at more than one page, or whatever this number is, or does that actually make sense? Is that a good number? And average duration, again, we spoke about this before, so this is 48 seconds, which is fine, because people were doing what we wanted them to do, in particular with these ads. So I designed this website actually, and so the numbers in this Google Analytics that we'll run through are pretty good. So it's probably quite a good benchmark for you to have a look at. When I designed the website, we made sure that our call to actions were really strong, our messaging was really clear, the process or the funnel was a really good funnel, and then we had some really targeted ads. So these analytics that I'm running through are very good. So bear that in mind as you're going through your analytics and looking at them in comparison to this bounce rate. So I'm going to talk about this now. So what's important, the bounce rate is one of the most important things that you can look at on Google Analytics. What a bounce rate is if you think about it like a tennis ball. So people come onto the website and leave again. They don't stay long. They only look at one page. They're in and out like a tennis ball, in and out. So the bounce rate on average bounce rate is between 40 to 50%. If your bounce rate is more than that, it means that you're either targeting the wrong people, or your SEO or your keywords are not right. So for example, if someone types in golf balls into Google, and your website comes up and they click into it because they see it, because you've used golf balls as a keyword, and then they go into the website and it's actually about tennis balls, then they're going to leave again because that's not what they were looking for. So that is one of the reasons why you may have a high bounce rate, is your keywords in your metadata may be wrong. Another reason why the bounce rate may be high is if your website is really slow to load. So if your website takes more than around 2 to 3 seconds to load, people won't wait for it. They'll leave and they won't stick around for it to load properly. So that will count as a bounce rate. So so for a standard website, kind of 40 to 50% would be a average bounce rate. Lower than that, it means your messaging is really clear, your website is nice and fast, you're targeting the right people are finding your website, you're giving them what they want. High bounce rate, not the right people, maybe not the right messaging, there's something there that isn't quite right. For a blog, if it's a blog post, your bounce rate would be higher. So an average bounce rate for a blog post is between about 70 to 80%. So when people come onto a blog, they normally find it through Google or social media. They come onto a blog and it's normally, it's got the information that they're looking for. So there's no reason to go to other parts of the website. So the bounce rate's higher. So they read that blog and then they leave again because it's what they came for, if that makes sense. So while those are averages and what to look for, it's really about, does what you're seeing, what your bounce rate is, does that make sense for your website or that particular page? If it's a contact page, for example, it would have a high bounce rate, because if people come into your contact page, they want to contact you, they do that and they leave again. So you wouldn't expect them to go to another page. Again, the blog thing, if it's a lead magnet or a sales page, people come to it, you don't need them to go to other pages, so you would expect a high bounce rate. So it's just making sense of that bounce rate and whether it is what you perceive to be good on that particular page, if that makes sense. So radio. So we're still in the audience tab. So audience is obviously all about the audience and who's looking at your website. So the other tab I go to down here is the demographics. So if you click on demographics and overview, what that's going to bring up, again, remember we're looking at the last 3 months. We can see the split quite clearly of what ages are looking at your website. So why this is important is, do you have a particular age group that you work with or that you target? And if you do, is that what's happening here? So if you're really trying to target, say, 18 to 24-year-olds, and then the biggest chunk of your audience is 65-plus-year-olds, that might mean that your messaging is wrong, or your keywords are wrong, or your advertising is wrong, and targeted to the wrong people. Your messaging and your advertising would be targeted to 65-year-olds rather than that age group. The other way to look at it, though, is should you be if more 65-year-olds are looking at your website, does that mean that you should be targeting them and they might be interested in your products and services, and then you can run a set ad for them. So just keep an eye on your demographics, and just, again, does it make sense? It's all about, does it make sense for your website? And if it doesn't, there's something with a disconnect there. So that's the ages. And then over here, you've got the gender. Again, if you're targeting males and then the biggest chunk of females, why is that? Messaging, advertising, keywords, that kind of thing. So that's the audience. The other thing that I sometimes look at if I'm running some ads for clients is if I click on interests and click on overview, what you're going to see here is what the people that look at your website, what else they're interested in. So how does Google know this? So basically it comes down to cookies on your website. So Google Analytics knows what other websites you're looking at, if that makes sense. I'm not going to go too much into detail here because I don't want to confuse you too much. But basically what this is saying is the people that have looked at this particular website, they've also browsed other websites or seen other, clicked on other ads, or follow food and dining ad pages on Facebook, so they're interested in these types of things, so food and dining and etc. And so why is this important? So when I use these types of things, this would be, as say, if I was going to run a Facebook ad or a social media ad for this business, and inside the ad you've got interests. So it might be that the people that I want to target, so obviously people that like these particular things, interested in this website. So this business, Kaiwa Tours, does bespoke tours around Wellington, Kapiti, and Martinborough. So they do like scenic and food and wine tours. So this all makes sense. But so if I was running an ad for them in Facebook, in that place that says interests, you can put these types of things to really narrow down who's seeing your ads. So while this is something to look at, something to bear in mind is this is only 26% of total users. So even though this looks quite high, it's actually only 5% of the people that have looked at the website. So it's, a lot, or 5% are interested in this type of thing, but it doesn't mean that everyone is. So again, it's a bit of a trial and error thing. It's just a kind of a nice to know, and then perhaps use it in some of your ads if you want to give that a spin. So that's interests. The other thing we can do is look at geo. So that is where they're coming from. So if I click on location, it will show us where in the world people are looking at your website from. This particular website is in New Zealand, so we would expect that to be higher. If you click on that, it will bring up the locations within New Zealand. So you can see where people are coming from. So this first tab here, that's the number of people, again, the new people, and how many times they're looking at it. This breaks up the bounce rate per location. So remember, the bounce rate is like a tennis ball coming in, coming out. We want a low bounce rate. It means it's good. So that just gives you an idea of where people are coming from. The other thing I like to look at here is mobile. So if we click on mobile and overview, we can see how many people, or the proportion of people that are looking at your website on mobile, desktop, and tablet. So it's really interesting. Before COVID hit us all, it was probably around 60 to 70% on desktop and 30 to 40% on mobile. And now, since COVID, it's done this full-on switch. So when I look at data, I don't often see less than 50% on mobile now. It's very interesting, and it's getting higher and higher. So what this means is just making sure that your website looks really great and functions well on mobile and tablet. So that's checking, whether it looks okay on there, whether you can, your messaging or your calls to action are really clear on those devices. And just checking that it all works on there. If you click on devices on the menu, it will actually show you what devices people are looking at your website from. So if you've got a large proportion, so this business has a large proportion on Apple iPhone. So there's actually websites where you can go type into Google, what does my website look like on an Apple iPhone? And then you put your website in and it will show you if you don't have an Apple iPhone to test it on. So there are ways to test your website and what it looks like and how it functions on all devices, even if you don't have one yourself. That's just a checking what people are using to look at your website and just making sure that it works well, because if your website isn't responsive or they can't easily call you or it's really slow to load on those devices, you're going to lose people, right? And so it's all about getting more people to your website and converting more of those people into inquiries or sales or whatever the case is for you. So that's what it's all about. So that is the audience tab. So the audience tab is really about who's looking at your website, where in the world they are, their age, gender, and device. So that gives you all the basic information about your targeting, really. So next is the acquisition tab. So acquisition is all about how people are finding your website. So first, let's just click on overview. So this will show radio. So here we've got, remember we're looking at the last 3 months, and we can see paid search, so that we're running some Google ads for this business. So the biggest chunk of people in the last 3 months have come from Google ads. Then we've got social. So socials, your social networking, Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, Twitter, all that stuff. Direct, so that's people that have just typed your website in, so they know it. Either they've got your business card or you've got your car printed and they've seen your car, or that they've just heard about you and they type it directly in. We've got organic search, so that's a free, genuine, someone Googling something and your website comes up. That's not an ad. And then referral is other websites that link to you. So it might be, if you're a plumber or something, and then there's a plumbing association that has a link to you, for example. So a referral is another website that links back to you. I'm just going to have a sip of my coffee. All right. So here, so that is, it tells you where people are coming from. So how can you use that to improve your website? I'll tell you that in a minute, because we're going to get into more detail here. And I do want to come back to conversions in a minute. So if you click on all traffic and source medium, it's just going to bring up a little bit more detail for us here. So same information, but in a different format. So Google CPC is cost per click. So that's the Google ads I was telling you about. M.Facebook, so that's people that have come from Facebook on mobile. L.Facebook, so that's people that have clicked a link on mobile from Facebook. So basically just merge all the kind of Facebooks together for a real number. People coming direct to your website, coming from Google organically or for free, genuine. Baidu is just another search engine, as is Bing. And this is a system that this business uses. So that is showing us, more in detail about where people are coming from. So here it gives you more data. So we can see the users and then the new users. So we've got a high proportion of new users coming from Google ads, which is, what we'd expect to reach new people. We can see the bounce rate per source. So these are all really nice and low bounce rates. But if we had, say, for example, we had the Google ads bounce rate was really high, what that would mean is our messaging was wrong. The ads were wrong. They were targeting perhaps we had targeted the wrong people, or we didn't have the right words on the ad, or even the page we were linking to wasn't the right page. There's all sorts of reasons why, if that bounce rate is high, we need to make some changes. But there's nothing that stands out here. Same deal with Facebook. If you've got a really high bounce rate on Facebook, it's time to think about whether the people following you are actually interested in you. If you're, again, messaging. So it's just making sure that what you're putting out there on all these different types of platforms, whether it's Google or social media or anything, brochures even, is your messaging consistent? Are you putting out what you're putting out? Is your website reflecting the messaging, or that just making sure everything is consistent? Because if you confuse people, or if you're all over the show, then that's when your bounce rate is going to be high, and that high bounce rate leads to no conversions, no sales, no what you want. So the duration, how long they're spending on there. So here, if I look through, so the people that are coming from Google organically or for free are spending the longest period of time on there. And then we've got our conversions. So I will talk about conversions soon. Then if I click on referrals, it will just bring up another way of looking at this. So those are the people that are, or the pages that other people are coming from. I'm not going to go into Google Ads because this isn't a Google Ads workshop, but if you have Google Ads running, that is one way to look at how those ads are going. Same with social. So if you go social and overview, again, it's just going to bring up the information, what social networks people are coming from here. So that is acquisition. So acquisition is all about finding out how people are finding you, where they're coming from, where they're learning about you, whether it's ads, social media, another website. So how can you use that to grow your business? So if you're, for example, LinkedIn, if the people that were coming from LinkedIn had really good bounce rate, really good conversion rate, and obviously they're like your ideal clients looking at your website, then you want to start pushing more content out on LinkedIn, right? So that's how you can use that. Same deal with Facebook. If Facebook's bringing you a lot of traffic and it's good traffic, you can see that by your bounce rate and the time spent and the conversion rate, which I'll talk about soon. If that's all really good, then you want to start making sure that you're using Facebook to the best that you can. Start pumping out more content on there. Same with referrals. So if there's a particular website that is pushing heaps of traffic to your website, reach out to them and say thank you. Thanks for linking to me. Really appreciate it. Could I do a guest blog or something? So making use of the traffic or the sources that are doing the best for you. Take them that next step or that next level up. So that's what acquisition's all about. Now we'll go to behavior. So once you click on behavior, I click on site content and all pages. So what this is doing is this shows us what people are doing on our website once they get there. So remembering we're looking at the last 3 months, we can see what pages people are looking at. So we've done SEO or search engine optimization on this website. So these may not mean a lot to you, but that's okay. If you don't know what page it is, you just click on this icon here and it shows you what page the analytics is for. So this is just going to load. So this is our tours by type. For example, this dash, the dash is always the home page. That means home page. So generally, we had some ads here. So this is why this looks like how it does. But generally, you would normally see the home page is always first, and then often the about page is next, followed by either a services or a contact page. So the more I look at other people's analytics or my clients' analytics, it shows how important that about page is on your website. So just make sure that your about page, one, that you have an about page, and two, that it gives information that people are looking for about you and about your business. Images are really good to have as well. So that is your homepage here. So here you can see how many people are looking, all the same information as what we have been looking, but this is at a per page level. So we can see what pages are working the best, what maybe need some tweaks, etc. Entrances. So what an entrance is that means that page is the first page that people are looking at when they go to your website. So generally the homepage would be there would be a high proportion of the homepage, because normally when you send someone a link to your website, or if they see it, it'll be the homepage. This is really this page here is quite high up on the entrances because our ads ran to that page. So again, just doesn't make sense for what you're doing. Bounce rate, again, we talked about that. Contact us, as I said to you earlier, your contact us will probably normally have quite a high bounce rate, because you want people to fill out the form or ring you or whatever you've asked them to do there. Exit rate, so they've looked at all the pages, and then this is the last page that they've looked at, and then they leave. So that's what the exit rate is. So that's just looking at a per page level. Again, if you've got a high bounce rate for one page in particular, why? What is the messaging not right? Is it not? Maybe you don't link to other pages. You don't actually ask people to look at other pages of your website. So on your about page, click here to see my services, or click here to contact me, or here's another call to action, or, making sure that you're actually encouraging people to look at more than one page of your website. Same with a blog. One of the ways to get the bounce rate down on blogs is having a related content, or here you're interested in this blog, you might also be interested in this and this and this about what I have to say. So encouraging people to spend more time on your website, and the more time that people spend on your website and the less the lower your bounce rate is, that has positive impact on your Google rankings, right? So bounce rate is actually one of the measures. Google looks at over 200 different factors when they decide what pages to show you when you do a search, right? SEO is, they look at over 200 different factors, but the first 10 to 20 factors are the most important ones to look at, and one of those is that's really high up there and getting higher and higher up there each time they do an update is usability. Are people actually finding what they're looking for on your website? Is your messaging good? Are you putting the right content out there? And if you've got a low bounce rate, that means you do. So if you've got a high bounce rate, it's going to then push your content down on Google, because Google will be like, oh, well, I showed them this website and then they left again, so that's not what they were interested in. So the next person that searches that particular keyword, I maybe won't show them that website because that person wasn't interested in it. So the bounce rate is real, as I say, it's one of the most important things to look at on there. Anyway, so that's behavior. That's probably the only thing that I look at within the behavior tab. So I won't go into too much detail about the rest because I don't want to confuse you. But yeah, so we've got our audience tab, which looks at our demographics, the people that are looking at the website. We've got the acquisition, which shows us where people are finding our website, how they're getting to our website. And then we've got our behavior, which is what people are doing once they get onto the website. So Google knows so much about, to be able to get this information now is just invaluable. Google really knows so much about your users, and it's free content and it's available to you, and it's just so important to actually use it to your advantage and increase those conversions, which now we're going to talk about conversions. So if you click on conversions and then goals, and then let's go to overview, when you sign up or create your Google Analytics, you won't have anything in here. So you've actually got to set your own conversions. And that is something I also have another video on, which I'll put a link to somewhere, is how to set up your conversions. But it's so worthwhile doing. And I'm going to explain to you what it means here. So a conversion is someone doing something that you want them to do. So remembering we've got the last 3 months as our time period that we've got up here. We have set our goals. So the goals of this particular website, we want people to call on our on the mobile. We've got a click to call button. So we want people to use that. We want people to fill out the contact form. But more importantly, we want them to book. book this particular tour. So that is the 3 goals that we've set up for this website. Again, I've got a video that teaches you how to set this up for your website, and it's definitely worthwhile doing, and I'm going to talk to you about why. So over the last 3 months, we've had 126 people complete a goal or do what we want them to do on our website. So that gives us a conversion rate of 5.29%. Now, what does that mean? So that means that 5% of the people that looked at our website converted to a client, or, at least a lead, if not a client. So an average conversion rate for a website is between 2 and 5%. That's your average conversion rate. If you're less than that, again, messaging. Maybe you don't have enough call to actions. Maybe you haven't put, your forms aren't easy to fill out, or they're asking for too much information. You're putting people off. Maybe you don't have an easy click to call button, or whatever the case. If your conversion rate is more than 5%, it means that you're doing very well. You're getting a lot of conversion. So again, average conversion rate for a service-based website is between 2 and 5%. Okay, so that is, and here the chart shows you how, what days of the week or of the month people are completing that goal. So here it shows us what pages people are completing that goal on. So dash, that's the home page. So 28% of the people that have converted to clients have done that from the home page. And then you can see, other information here. So the FBCLID, so that's a Facebook, clicking through from Facebook. Then the other thing to do is look at source medium here, and that shows you how many conversions you're having per platform. So our Google ads produced 67 clients. So over that time period that we ran Google ads, we got 67 people convert. So mobile, people looking at Facebook on their mobile, that's leading to some conversion. So the posts that we're putting out on Facebook are hitting the right people, right messaging. Google, our SEO, our keywords are all right. And then, as it goes on. So it's so important to look at this, because this is the goal of your website, right? If your website's not producing sales or inquiries or calls or bookings or whatever your website is intended to do, it's not working. So Google Analytics can really explain to you why it's not working and give you the kind of path that you need to make those improvements. And if you remember, if we go back to behavior, site content, all pages, we can actually see all this information. So per page, we've got, wrong way, conversion. Sorry. If I look at conversions here. So we can see what percentage from each of these are. So this goal here is the click to call, but let's look at the actual bookings, which is the external links. So we can see here what platforms are converting the most. So it's so important to know this information. So I guess the overview that I want you to take from this little workshop is make sure you've got Google Analytics installed. Make sure you're keeping an eye on it. You don't have to look at it every day. As I say, I really look at it with a 3-month time period, because it gives us enough information to be able to make decisions, see what's working, see what's not working, and then practice and test. So try something for 3 months. Does that have a positive impact on your conversions? And if it doesn't, try something new. So just monitor your analytics. If you don't know your numbers, you can't improve. You're just kind of throwing, what's that saying? Throw spaghetti at the wall and hoping it sticks. But with your analytics, you can really get there. And especially with the putting the goals in there. So if you don't have analytics installed, I've got the video how to do that. I've also got the video of how to get your conversions up there and running. If you've got any questions, just message me, email me, whatever. My website is lucyambrose.com. And I've got another range of a whole lot of free videos and tutorials and things that you can use. But I hope that you found this useful. If you did, please flick me an email, send me a message and let me know what you thought was the most beneficial to you. And yeah, that's it. So thank you for watching. Thank you for taking the time to spend with me this morning. And I will see you guys later. Thank you. Bye.